It is murder, Colombia cries, as American strikes rip through the Caribbean and Pacific. Dozens dead, law trampled. Caracas vows insurrection. Washington promises more. Helicopters, destroyers, F-35s, a region teetering on the edge of war. Tonight, how a narcotics campaign became a continental crisis, and who may light the fuse. Colombia has called on the United States to halt its military strikes in the Caribbean and Pacific, which have killed at least 5 people in the latest operations. According to US figures, at least 9 attacks have been carried out since early September, leaving 37 dead. A broad range of experts have described the campaign as illegal. The Colombian Foreign Ministry urged the US government to cease these attacks and respect international law.
Colombia calls on the U.S. government to cease these attacks and urges it to respect the norms dictated by international law.
President Gustavo Petro was more direct, calling the operations murder and asserting on social media that the strategy violates norms of international law.
It is murder. Whether in the Caribbean or Pacific, the U.S. government strategy breaks the norms of international law.
Moreover, Petro said that suspending US aid would have little effect on Colombia, but changes to military assistance could impact operational capacity, particularly the supply of helicopters. The president emphasized that such adjustments would have more tangible consequences than cuts to broader aid funding.
Que le suban aranceles al 10%.
What if they withdraw the aid? Nothing, in my opinion. We will have specific problems. I've never seen in the Colombian budget that we've passed a single dollar of aid. This U.S. aid does not go through the state. It is not aid for governments. It doesn't help us at all, not a single dollar. For this reason, when they say they will take this from us, I say, where? Where are the subsidies? I don't find them. They aren't in the budget. This is aid for NGOs that U.S. aid manages outside the government. Generally, it is of North American origin. That is, it's aid for themselves. It's a kind of aid for U.S. employment.
The American campaign, launched on September 2nd, was justified by Washington as an effort to destroy narcotics trafficking operations originating from Venezuela. Donald Trump described the US as engaged in an armed conflict with traffickers, while Nicolás Maduro accused the administration of seeking regime change. The strikes, which have targeted vessels near Venezuelan waters, have coincided with a significant US military buildup in the Caribbean, including destroyers, F-35 fighter jets, a nuclear submarine, and roughly 6,500 troops. Meanwhile, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has issued a warning, urging the country's working class to launch a general insurrectionary strike and take up arms if the United States attempts any intervention in Venezuela. Speaking at an event in Caracas, Maduro said workers, peasants and fishermen would serve as the greatest shield the country has against foreign aggression.
La clase obrera.
If one day they dare to come here or there, here is the greatest shield the country has. The working class. Not a pin would move, and a general insurrectionary, revolutionary strike by the working class and peasants would be declared in the streets until power was regained to carry out an even more radical revolution. Brothers and sisters, take this as an order. The order is given. If they dare, not a pin will move in this country. They would see the parade of millions of men and women with rifles in the fighting forces of the working class, the peasants, the fishermen, and the neighborhoods throughout the country.
At the same time, Maduro made an emphatic plea for peace, rejecting war and advocating for harmony during remarks broadcast on state television, declaring in a mix of Spanish and English.
Not war, not war, not war. Just peace, just peace, just peace. Forever, forever, forever. Peace forever. No crazy war.
Venezuela also began a nationwide military deployment on October 23rd as part of its Coast Independence 200 exercises. The drills, covering the coastal states of La Guaira, Miranda, Anzoátegui, Falcón, Nueva Esparta, Carabobo, Sucre and Zulia, are aimed at defending the country's sovereignty and internal stability amid rising regional tensions. Meanwhile, Defense Minister and Vice President for Defense and Sovereignty, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, warned that any alleged CIA operations against Venezuela would fail, asserting that the agency operates wherever a US embassy exists, but that attempts to destabilize the nation would not succeed.
No attempt to destabilize the Venezuelan nation will succeed here. They may deploy countless CIA personnel in covert operations from any flank of the nation, and any attempt will fail as it has failed so far. We do not need to recount all the achievements and victories of the Bolivarian Revolution to preserve the peace of this country, to keep this country standing with dignity. We are not going to do that. It is not a narrative we are going to create. The people already know, and we know that the CIA is present not only in Venezuela but everywhere in the world where there is a United States embassy. There it will be operating.
Trump has asserted that he could continue launching strikes against alleged drug traffickers abroad without seeking a formal declaration of war from Congress. Speaking at a press conference, Trump said,
"I'm not going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. We're going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country."
The American president suggested that operations could soon extend to land targets in countries like Venezuela, while continuing strikes against vessels in international waters. Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth justified the 9 recent strikes in the Caribbean and Pacific, which have killed at least 37 people, as countering so-called narco-terrorists. Trump emphasized that he may inform Congress before acting on land, but expects little resistance.
Yes, we do. We have legal authority. We're allowed to do that. And if we do by land, we may go back to Congress, but we have, this is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year, these drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year, and that gives you legal authority. We have a national security, really, I will say this, when you look at the people we're dealing with, and we know them, we know the people coming in, we know the boats, we know everything else, we're allowed to do it. It's in international waters. If we don't do it, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people. Now, they'll be coming in by land a little bit more because they're not coming in by boat anymore. There are no boats in the water. There are no more boats. We know the boat almost immediately. You know, it's pretty unusual when you see somebody with a fishing rod and 5 engines on the back of the boat. You know, you don't need that to go fishing. Wait. And we will hit them very hard when they come in by land. And they haven't experienced that yet, but now we're totally prepared to do that. We'll probably go back to Congress and explain exactly what we're doing when we come to the land. We don't have to do that, but I think, Marco, I'd like to do that.
Trump also called Colombian President Gustavo Petro a thug and a bad guy.
The president of Colombia in a recent interview said that if you won't change, he thinks that people should get rid of you.
We're talking about now Colombia, the country, not the university.
Yes.
Go ahead. He said what?
He said that if you won't change, then perhaps you need to be gotten rid of. Do you view that as a threat?
Well, he's a thug and bad guy. He's a guy that is making a lot of drugs. We've just, as of today, stopped all payments going to Colombia, the country Colombia. Also, the school Colombia. No, we settled. We made a settlement with him. But no, he's a thug, and he's a bad guy, and he's hurt his country very badly. They're doing very poorly, Colombia. They make cocaine. They have cocaine factories. They grow all sorts of crap that's drugs, bad drugs coming into the United States, goes generally through Mexico. And he better watch it or we'll take very serious action against him and his country. His country is, what he has led his country into is a death trap.